delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 98. Today is Thursday, April 25th. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Hello, Jeff. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. It's going to be a small crew today.
It is. So just a little background story. Mark Nelson has been out of town. He's either flying back soon or is already back and MIA right now.
Wait, was he in, where was he this last time? Are we allowed to say? Was he in Hawaii?
Yeah, his sister, I guess, lives
That's
out
right.
on the Big Island. So
Yes,
I don't think
that's
it's a secret.
No.
Hopefully
no.
it's not a secret. And so he's been house sitting out there. She's traveling somewhere. So I think there are worse places to house sit.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
We've kind of just been letting him do his thing. He's been, kind of disconnected from reality, which is good. And then Katie Suniga joined for a second before we hit the record button, but her internet was kind of going in and out at home and it was getting pretty glitchy. So she wanted to be here.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll be back next week or the week after. So that's why we're a two-person crew today.
Yep.
So, but we have plenty to talk about. Kind of showing you the outline of today's podcast here. It's been a pretty warm April. We've had a lot of warm afternoons, especially compared to where we should be for the month of April. So we'll kind of go over those numbers. It's also been drier than normal, but luckily things are going to be changing. They're already changing here in the Northwest, I'm sure.
Yep.
You're already aware of that. The snowpack has taken quite a hit, so we're going to walk through those numbers, take a look at the current mountain snowpack here in the state of Oregon and how it compares to a little over 2 weeks ago. And obviously, we're entering this wetter weather pattern. That's going to be with us for a little while. We'll go over a term of the week, which was actually visible in the sky earlier this week around Tuesday. And then we also have some viewer photos, some spectacular photos came in this week. One that you probably haven't seen just yet, Camilla, so hopefully it's a surprise to you.
Good. I love that.
Yeah, so we'll get the party started here. Let's go over some of these numbers for the month of April. These are high temperatures, by the way. It doesn't list the overnight temperatures, but the average or, the comparison of where we should be for this time of year is based off of the highs and lows. So this is just listing what, the afternoons look like so far this month. And boy, we had a couple of very warm days this week, especially Tuesday, where we climbed into the upper 70s. And Camilla, that sun angle, it's higher now. You can compare it to early August sunshine. And, I was standing out there sweating. I was walking the dog. I was like, dang, it feels like 80 out here.
Absolutely. Well, I was on a bike ride with a friend on that Tuesday when we hit 78. And I remember thinking like, I shouldn't be thinking that I'm hot right now, but like it felt hot. It felt hot out there.
Totally. No, I was like kind of uncomfortable, but trying to embrace it, knowing what was coming later in the week. So,
I mean, if you look
a touch warm.
Yeah. And then we have, I just counted real quick, 15 on this calendar graphic we're showing you, 15 warmer than average days indicated in red there. So absolutely. It's been much warmer than average. And having 2 days there close to 80 degrees is pretty remarkable.
By the way, those are the two warmest days that we have recorded this month, or this year rather. We haven't quite hit 80. Typically our first 80 on average comes in early May, but it can arrive earlier. I mean, if we had maybe a little less of those cirrus clouds out there Tuesday, those high thin clouds, maybe we would have hit 80. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, things are trending a bit cooler now, and I think we're going to end the month with temperatures kind of evening out, if you will. So, so those are the temperatures so far. We're running warmer than normal for April through the first 24 days, and this is a look at rainfall. And let's see, this is a 9-day stretch of completely dry conditions that we've been experiencing. So, and frankly, since April 11th, we've only recorded 0.02 of an inch of rain. Isn't that crazy?
Is crazy. I mean, you could even take the last 2.5 weeks. That's still less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. I mean, that's dry.
If you watch Good Day Oregon, you probably hear me say I consider 1/4 of an inch of rain in one day a decent soaker. right? And so the last time we got a decent soaker, if you look at this graphic in the metro area, was back on April 6th. So, Yeah, things have been trending drier. I texted Mark a couple of times about this, and I'm like, boy, I'm glad we're getting a pattern change. She was kind of complaining that he's coming back to this.
Oh,
to
stop.
this wet weather.
Oh, you're coming back from your warm Hawaii weather. Oh, I feel bad for you.
But we both agreed that this is necessary. I was like, driving on the freeway the other day and noticing that the grass on the sides of the road are turning those lighter green shades,
Yes,
almost like brown.
Yeah.
It's drying out there. So this is going to be beneficial. This pattern change that we'll be undergoing. By the way, for those that are just listeners of the podcast, we've only recorded 62/100ths of an inch of rain so far this month. And in typical April in Portland, we usually pick up about 3 inches or just under 3 inches. So, it's been drier than normal, warmer than normal, and the combination of those two have dried out the vegetation a bit. So that's how things have been trending, but we should be turning things around. And the water year, the measure of rainfall since October 1st, we're still in good shape in Portland and frankly in a number of other cities that I'm going to show. Camila, you can see that we're still experiencing a surplus in excess of 3.5 inches.
Yep, that's good.
That's good in Portland. How about in Salem? Salem typically averages a bit more rainfall than Portland. And we're still seeing a bit of a surplus out there, but rainfall has been near normal since the start of the water year back on October 1st. So we picked up a little over 35 inches of rain, and typically this time of year we should have recorded 34 inches in Salem. Astoria obviously picks up a lot more rain than our western valleys. The coastline is a very wet location here in the Pacific Northwest. Astoria is right around where it should be, experiencing a rainfall surplus, just over an inch of a rainfall surplus out there. Typically this time of year we should have about 59 inches of rain recorded since October 1st, and we've recorded over 60 inches, so that's good. And then a drier location, I figured we'd take a spot east of the Cascades. Redmond is also in a rainfall surplus by about 1/2 inch. Typically we should have recorded about 5.25 inches of rain by this time since October 1st, but we're on the approach to 6 inches out there with about 5.75 of an inch of rain in the bucket.
Nice.
So not too bad. We like to kind of just glance at the drought monitor just to get an indication of how things are trending, where we might be headed. And I haven't seen a lot of change, Camila, over the past week or two. The legend at the top here represents, what stage of drought we're in. Dry, the first category, that's technically not drought. That just tells us that, the vegetation has been drier or is trending drier, and, we've been experiencing a drier than normal pattern. So the only location that's in a drought is, and it's a level 1 out of 4 moderate drought, is a sliver of Central Oregon, and that's been the case I think for at least several weeks now, if not longer.
I like to point that out because if you look at this map and you see 5% of the state in some level of drought, but you're like, there's way more color on this map than that 5%. We're just looking at, like Jeff said, that tan color in Central Oregon.
Exactly, and I figured I'd just show that there's no drought present in our locations west of the Cascades. I mean, up into extreme northwest Washington, there is a little bit of moderate drought going on, but we're just abnormally dry right now in northwest Oregon and southwest Washington. But hopefully with this pattern change, we're going to see, things change on that map. So snowpack has taken a hit. I figured that we would cover that. It's something that we've been monitoring. It's, linked to our groundwater and things of that nature. So Camila, this was the view of the base area of Steeble this morning.
Look at that.
Things have really changed there. Again, for the viewers that just listen to the podcast as opposed to watching the podcast on our website or on YouTube, the snow, I mean, we're just seeing some patches at this point at the base area of Steeble, which is at about 4,000 feet. Not last weekend, but the weekend prior to that was the last weekend of
That's what I was going to ask, if that was
Steeble.
2 weekends ago. That sounded right.
So things were looking pretty darn good back on April 10th.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Lots of above 100% normal snowpack, especially, through the central part of the state, western part of the state, and then southeast basins was doing amazing, 167% of normal. So Yeah, that was great. That's because we started the month on a wetter note, so that really helped.
Yeah. Yeah, we had decent
Hmm.
rainfall and mountain snow in the first week of April. And just for reference, this is measured in snow water equivalent. This was one of our terms in a previous podcast, term of the week. But for those that are new to the podcast, imagine taking a cluster of snow, or like a handful of snow, and melting it down into liquid form. Um, Not all snow is created
Yeah.
equal, if you will. It doesn't have the same amount of water content in it. So we look at the snowpack in terms of snow water equivalent. So if you were to melt down the snow, it would give us an amount of water, and we compare that to where we should be for a specific date. So for April 10th, imagine like
Hmm.
putting it in a cup. The cup would be completely full at 100%, let's say, for the Mount Hood area. So we were right around where we should be. And a lot of the basins and mountain regions around the state of Oregon on April 10th
Yeah.
were overflowing,
Yeah.
if you will, over the cup. So we were in really good shape. But if we push this ahead to this morning, look at the
Yeah.
change there.
Now we're seeing a lot of below 100% numbers. Central Oregon now in that kind of 80-ish% range. Same with Northeast Oregon. So yeah, definitely has taken a hit, in the last few weeks.
Look at the John
Yeah.
Day Basin, down to 62%
Yeah.
of normal. So, the combination of the lack of rainfall, things kind of drying out in Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington, and the way that the snowpack is trending, this shouldn't come as a surprise, considering we've had warmer than normal days. We haven't had a lot of precipitation, so
Yeah.
snowpack melts. And by the way, we are past the peak of the typical snowpack. Typically, our mountain snowpack in the Mount Hood area peaks in late
Right.
March. So, but this is a representation of where we should be today. It's not a representation of, just the fact
Right,
that it's
because we do
melting.
expect that this time of year. I
for
mean, snowpack is going to decrease, but yeah, that's why this graphic is great, because it shows you compared to normal. Yeah.
Exactly. So for April 25th, we don't love what we're seeing, but look at this brand new winter weather advisory that the National Weather Service
was
issued.
that new as of this morning?
That was new as of about a couple of
cool.
hours
Okay.
ago. If you want to know, folks, we're recording this podcast around 9:45 Thursday morning. It takes a little bit of time to actually get it uploaded and whatnot. We try to do our best to get it up soon enough because weather changes. But yeah, this is a winter weather advisory that goes into effect at noon today, Thursday, and it will last through Friday evening. So it will expire. It's set to expire at midnight between Friday night and Saturday morning. So the snow level is going to be at around 6,000 feet today. So, I mean, it's going to be a relatively high snow level. We're really not expecting big problems at the Cascade Passes. Santiam Pass, Willamette Pass may have some partially snow-covered roads at the coolest times of the day. But again, that sun angle, it's much higher. The sunshine's much stronger. So even with, cloudy skies during the middle of the day, we do see meltage. That's a real term.
Also, do these numbers seem a little juicy to you? I mean, maybe they changed, but when I was looking at the snow forecast models last night, I 8 to 15. That seems, I don't know, because this is a pretty light. It's steady, but it's a light precipitation that we're seeing coming through.
Timberline during the early part of Good Day Oregon was sitting at 33 degrees as the precipitation was coming in.
Mild.
So I imagine that precipitation will cool the air a little bit, maybe to 32 or 31. It's going to be kind of a sloppy, wet snow initially at Timberline. I would have probably put above 6,000 feet. You could expect 8 to 15 inches. Because, I mean, this is a decent round of precipitation coming in. But you're right. I mean, elevations below 6,000 feet are going to be hard pressed to get a lot of snow accumulation out of this. But we will see some, and it will vary because we're going to enter more of a showery regime on Friday. Today it's going to be pretty steady stuff falling. So regardless, higher elevations will probably pick up, a decent amount of snow, but elevations closer to like 4,000 feet will see minimal snow because these snow levels are going to be relatively high. So we've mentioned we're entering this wetter weather pattern. Figured we show a nice little satellite loop of, and I tried to extend it a little bit, but you can only show so much. Files get too large for this presentation, but this is visible satellite imagery of decent little cold front. You can see the break right here. Can you see my cursor,
Yes,
Camila?
I can. It's small, but I can see it.
So I'm kind of drawing an invisible line where that cold front is. It's that dividing line between all that moisture moving into the Pacific Northwest and more of the showery, unstable weather behind it. And so that cold front is pushing stratiform precipitation onshore or steady precipitation onshore. And then we'll be more in that showery weather pattern once the cold front slides through later this evening. So as of 9 a.m., pretty healthy rainfall
Look at that.
totals.
Already more than a tenth of an inch in Portland.
And look at the coastline.
Great. Half inch there in Astoria and Tillamook, about a third of an inch for Newport, Florence. Love to see it.
And that's since about midnight. So I would say about midnight to 9 a.m. So over a 9-hour stretch, the coastline has seen some healthy rainfall totals, and the rainfall totals will continue to tick up across the I-5 corridor in our western valleys. Not expecting a ton of rain in eastern Oregon, central and eastern Oregon, which of course we'll get into in a second. But here's just a quick look. Midnight to 9 a.m. Thursday, we've seen anywhere from about a tenth to a quarter of an inch of rain so far in our western valleys. McMinnville, I looked at a local weather station out there. Their official station is down, but they picked up about 1/1500ths of an inch of rain since now.
Are you still seeing maybe about a half inch is what models were giving us for today for the valleys?
Uh-oh, where did my presentation go?
Oh, no.
It did, didn't it? Let's see if I can pull that back up again. Technical difficulties, folks. We'll go ahead and wait a second. I think the network kind of goes out in and out from time to time. But yeah, the steady precipitation that's coming in, rain and high elevation snow, will probably be with us through the late afternoon and early evening before it starts to transition to showers. And you were asking how much rain that we're expecting beyond, the mid-morning this morning. And, if I can just get these graphics to pop back up, which I think I'm going to be able to do. Here we go. I actually included two different forecast models to kind of compare and contrast how things might look. So let me jump ahead here and we'll take a look at rainfall expectations. Apologies to everybody that's watching.
Hey,
from time to time this happens. It's the worst when it happens on TV and you have like a 3-minute window
Jeff,
to do weather.
I was going to ask you, did you have any issues with Max this morning? I think they smoothed it out last night, but they popped up some like warning messages on how they were having issues. And my first hit in the 4 p.m. show, I think, models were doing strange things. Nothing was advancing. Yeah, like
really?
The maps, like you couldn't see borders, you couldn't see roads anymore on like the graph model. Oh. And I was like, okay, we'll just pretend Portland is here. And like I poked, it was just like, yeah, it was weird. So that does happen on TV sometimes.
Yeah, it does. The worst thing that happens on TV, and it's happened to me a couple of times, is when we open our Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to just delete this file because actually, you know what? I don't think I can. I'm just going to jump ahead here. This is interesting.
It's okay.
Yeah. So, oh man, I'm doing my best, folks. But yeah, the worst is when we open our Excel spreadsheet that inputs all the numbers for like our 7-day forecast and our zone forecast, and it just goes blank, the 7-day forecast. So there have been a couple of moments, I'm sure you've experienced it too, where you pull up the 7-day forecast on TV, everybody's waiting for it, and then it has no numbers on
Jeffy, closing out the forecast
worst feeling
page.
In the world.
That's not doing that as an amateur move, buddy.
Well, sometimes, yeah, that, and sometimes people in the weather center that are kind of working behind the scenes will open it up mid-weathercast, and all of a sudden we don't have a 7-day to show. So that's always fun times. Okay, I'm just skipping ahead to here we go. All right, this is what we call the NAM, the North American model. This is the higher resolution version of it, and this is the forecast, Camilla, between about 9 a.m. this morning, Thursday, through, let's see, basically through Friday. So Thursday and Friday. Is it going to be
popping up here, or
this? Oh, are you not seeing it?
I mean, I love you just narrating it, but I'm not seeing it.
Oh, we can do that. We can show it.
There we go. Now I see something appearing.
Yeah, the numbers are not super clear. They're pretty small, but the NAM is not going too heavy on the rainfall along the I-5 corridor. I mean, it's bringing maybe a quarter to a half an inch of rain between today and tomorrow on top of what is already accumulated. So upwards of a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch
Gotcha.
in total
Yeah.
for the Thursday to Friday timeframe. But look at some of those expectations for, the coast range, and the Cascades. Those are
Like
pretty
two
significant
plus
totals.
inches.
That's in the
It's hard to
Andes
see
South.
the legend. Nice.
Yeah. The orange and the red shades are multi-inch rainfall totals on the order of 2 to 3 inches. So
Yeah.
that would be great. That would be fantastic. Look at the IBM graph model. This is between Thursday and Friday, and this has been a little bit juicier,
a little too heavy,
than
maybe
some of the other computer models, perhaps. And in fact, yesterday morning it was pumping out 2 inches
Whoa.
for Portland, but now it's backed
Yeah.
off to about an inch. So I think it's reasonable to assume that we'd probably see about 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter of rain between Thursday and Friday, and then maybe a bit more along parts of the coast, and certainly more on western-facing slopes in the Coast Range and Cascades.
And then,
regardless of how you look at it, this is going to be beneficial
and then over the
stuff.
weekend, it does look like, we're still kind of in the showery pattern, but it looked like things were really slowing down, just kind of spottier showers, a little bit more dry time. Is that what you were seeing this morning too? Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to show some of the upper level pattern expectations for the weekend and into next week. But this is just to kind of highlight that we'll see relatively high snow levels. They'll probably bottom out over the next couple of days around 4,500 feet or so. But a lot of the rain and mountain snow will fall today while the snow level is at about 6,000 feet. It's not going to be until this evening and tonight that it slips below 6,000 feet. We'll get some mountain snow, but it'll be on like the higher slopes of the ski
passes
resorts.
Will be mainly bare, which I guess is not a bad thing for folks traveling.
Yeah, especially since we're past studded tire season, All right, so this is a look at the upper level weather pattern. And what it shows is either troughing, which you can see right there, right over the Pacific Northwest, or ridging. Ridging brings like ridges of high pressure, happy weather, to simplify it, and troughs of low pressure bring lousy weather, to simplify it. That's one of my mentors told me to say on TV early on in my career, just to like help the folks out that don't have a weather background that are watching from home. So this is the upper level pattern late today. So basically Thursday night into Friday morning, with a weak trough kind of sliding over the Pacific Northwest. That's bringing steady light to moderate rainfall and high elevation snow. So we'll jump ahead to midday Sunday. So Camila, you talked about how we're expecting some rainfall this weekend, but probably not a steady slug of moisture like we're dealing with this morning.
Looks a lot more zonal. We've just got that westerly flow, and typically in these setups, it's just a lot of cloudy weather, kind of light showers at times. But usually we're when you see that like trough really driving or diving to the south is when we get the wetter systems impacting us.
Yeah, this one's more so going to be to the north of us. It'll graze the northwest. We're expecting some dry time Friday night into about mid-morning Saturday, but sometime between the mid to late morning on Saturday is when we're going to see this next round of rain linked to this upper level trough that's going to move in. That'll be maybe late morning into lunchtime Saturday. So if you're thinking, I want to get outdoors, or my kids have a baseball game or a softball game, we do think that we're going to get some more showery weather or a quick round of rain about midday Saturday, and then it should transition to showers Saturday afternoon into Sunday, and should be tapering off Monday as weak high pressure starts to build in Monday into Tuesday. So this is the upper level pattern. Tuesday morning shows a weak ridge, what we call a transient ridge that's going to be moving over the northwest. So that should briefly dry us out Monday afternoon, Tuesday, and for maybe the first half of Wednesday. Then all of a sudden by Wednesday evening, we have another system that's going to be probably driving in some moisture. And I think, Camila, it could turn fairly warm. I mean, not super warm, but Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday, I think at least the mid to upper 60s are in the realm of
that's
possibility.
great. That's comfortable and about average for this time of year, so we'll take it.
Totally. And if you're wondering, do we have any long stretches of dry weather coming?
Nope.
The answer is no. The short answer is no. This is the European model ensemble outlook for, precipitation, and kind of highlighted at the bottom, Camila. It doesn't look like we're really going to see a drier stretch of weather, perhaps until maybe the second week of May. and even that's a little bit up in the
Yeah,
air
it doesn't
right
look like
now.
there's a ton of agreement yet with the ensemble members. But yeah, and for all the folks, because yeah, you mentioned the high pressure happy, trough, whatever. What did you say? Low pressure lousy? Is that what it was?
Yeah, just to
Yeah. No, I know,
remember
I
it.
get
You
that.
know,
I get that. But yeah, it was time. We had to make up the rainfall, so to speak, because it's been so dry. So yeah, for everyone pouting out there, we had our nice run of dry and warm stuff, right? Like we need
Right.
this. We need this.
We sure do. And for the record, I love
I
the rain
know,
and the
yeah.
melt and snow, so it's not lousy
Yes,
to
no,
me.
I
It's
know,
just
Especially here in the Pacific Northwest, you have to
quick
be
way to
careful. It's
remember.
like, no, we love our rain. We love it here.
Totally. So this is the Euro ensemble outlook, just to maybe like look way out in the future of when we might see a few dry days in a row, 3 to 4 dry days in a row, possible as we get into the second week of May. I think between now and early May, we're probably going to be dealing with some, at least periodic showers, if not steady batches of rain from time to time. The GFS ensemble outlook is perhaps in somewhat agreement with the Euro outlook, bringing in maybe a stretch of drier weather starting around the second week of May. So
yeah,
we shall see. How about warm weather? Are we going to see anything warm coming up? So we like to look at about 5,000 feet in the air, the outlook for temperatures. This is in Celsius. And Camilla, what I've done is I've drawn a line, kind of highlighted an area around 7 degrees Celsius. Why did I do 7 degrees Celsius? Well, we're entering the month of May now, and May features a higher sun angle, stronger sunshine. So it doesn't take very warm temperatures at 5,000 feet to necessarily bring a very warm day down at the surface. This graphic is Mark's famous 850 millibar temperature graphic that correlates what the temperatures at the surface might be if the temperature is something at 5,000 feet. So let's just say we're looking at, around 7 degrees C. I think if we're at about 7 degrees Celsius, that could bring us to 70
for sure.
or
That's
greater.
easily 70s, especially on a sunny day.
In May. And if we're at 10 degrees Celsius at 5,000 feet, then we're talking maybe 75 or greater during the month of May. So going back to this is kind of the outlook, the Euro outlook. And it's possible that we might have a couple of breaks in the showers during the first week of May. And in those breaks, we might briefly hit 70 once or twice. But I don't really see anything super warm coming. We might hit our first 80 one of those days. But I don't see anything abnormally, like unusually warm.
There's no real strong ridge of high pressure or anything that we're seeing on the horizon. Yeah.
So I kind of highlighted a couple of, dates there, maybe around May 2nd or 1st, maybe around May 3rd and 4th, and maybe around May 6th and 7th. We might get to 70 to 75 or so. The GFS ensemble outlook, however, is not as hopeful for warm weather. This is keeping us a little bit cooler for the extended and might bring us, 70, 75 degree weather during that second week of May. So long story short, Climate Prediction Center is giving us a higher likelihood of below normal temperatures for the next 6 to 10 days. And it's leaning above normal in terms of precipitation here in the Pacific Northwest. So while I know folks that love the warm and dry weather are probably kind of, unhappy about this outlook, it's beneficial. And, of course, we don't want a bad fire season. And this is what we need to see during the springtime to avoid any kind of major fire season. And
it's not summer yet, but we will get summer, and we will get the dry, extended, warm stuff. That's coming.
And for the triathletes, you guys don't want to be running and cycling in 85, not 90 degree weather right now anyway,
not yet.
right?
It's too early for that.
Oh. Yeah. And, by the way, I'm not included in that,
Why
in that
not?
group. I'm lucky to get a mile. Because I have a 4.5-month-old daughter. I'm just trying to survive.
Just throw
right
her in
now,
a burly,
Camilla.
Jeff. Come on. I'm just kidding. I
You'll
know.
be there soon.
I know.
You'll understand. Yeah. All right. Let's enter the term of the week part of the forecast, or part of the podcast rather. All right. What is the term of the week? Well, some of you may have seen a ring around the moon or the sun Monday night into Tuesday morning. So this was the view Tuesday morning,
Beautiful.
Camilla, from the Shriners
Mhm.
Children's Camp. You can see Mount Hood out there in the distance. So I figured, we had a couple of viewer submissions of this halo, so we might as well talk
Yeah.
about it. So
Yeah, this is a
take it away.
22-degree halo. So these happen when we have those thin, high clouds, cirrus clouds, which are made up of tiny, tiny little ice crystals. So basically what's happening is the sun coming from, reflecting from these ice crystals are getting refracted. And then we see that kind of white ring or halo happening around just because of the angle, the way the light is getting bent. Really, really pretty. I love seeing these. And yeah, Monday and Tuesday, prime days for 22-degree halos.
Yeah, and we often see this we'll go through a couple of warm and sunny days with blue skies, and then all of a sudden we're kind of in that transition period. As the next weather system approaches out of the west, we start to get a veil of high, thin cirrus clouds way up in the atmosphere, and we start to see this kind of halo taking place. And then the thicker clouds, those mid-level clouds, start to stream in, which is what happened yesterday. But yeah, always kind of a neat sight, and sometimes we even get like rainbows directly to the right and directly to the left of the sun in that halo, which are called sundogs. So figure that could be a little term of the week. So next time that it's a warm sunny day and we know that we're a couple of days away from rain arriving, keep an eye on the sky. If we start to see those thin high clouds, those cirrus clouds, it's likely that there will be a halo out there.
And Jeff, why is it 22 degrees?
So if we're looking at the sun from the ground, the radius out to the halo is at a 22-degree angle from where we're standing.
There you go.
So that's where it gets the 22-degree halo. Just if you want like another visual representation of like the explanation, I would just Google 22-degree halo. There's a lot of good stuff out there, especially that the National Weather Service has put out. So now we're on to the viewer photos. Boy, did we get some cool ones this week. I included a couple on the podcast. This first one came in sometime between last night and this morning.
Are those wild horses?
Yeah.
This
is
a
horses.
painting. This is not a picture. This is insane.
No, this is real, actually. This was sent in by Kathy, who was out near Silver Lake. You can see Mount St. Helens out there in the distance. She sent me a message this morning, kind of giving me a little bit more background info. Apparently, pioneers around like 1900 brought horses out here, and either one or more escaped, or they let them escape. And well, they started breeding, and now there are at least 2 herds of wild horses around Silver Lake. And I know the folks in Southwest Washington are probably listening and are quite familiar with this, but yeah, I thought, I was like thinking to myself, is this photoshopped? And then I Googled and started doing some research, and sure enough, there are at least a couple of herds of wild horses.
That's amazing. Okay, I didn't know that. So that is new information for me. That's really cool.
And Kimberly Moss is a big horse person. She has her own horses at her farm, or her ranch or farm. And she was actually surprised. She thought that they were just on some of the Native American reservations out here. So it came as a surprise to her. So thanks to Kathy for sending this in. Again, best way to do it, go to our website, kptv.com/weather. You can check the forecast, and then you can submit a photo, and it might appear
on TV,
on the
or
podcast.
the podcast.
Or TV or social media. This one was sent in earlier this week by Deanna Blair. This was, if I had to guess, this is out toward maybe Lyle, Washington, on the east end of the Columbia River Gorge. The wildflower bloom is fantastic out that way right now. And not only did Deanna, I hope it's Deanna.
I think so. Deanna, that makes sense. Yeah.
Deanna. Deanna not only took a photo of the wildflowers, but she also caught Mount Hood out there in the distance. So
crisp,
beautiful
clear
shot
day,
there.
And
good day to do some hiking earlier this week. I think this was on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, from the Columbia River Gorge. So thanks to Deanna, and of course, thanks to everybody else that contributes to the weather photo submissions. We always appreciate it. And if you have the Fox 12 weather app, there's another resource that
super
you can use
easy. There's literally a button. You open it up. It's in the lower right-hand corner, just right there. Submit photos. So it makes it easy.
That about does it, Camilla. Do you are you doing any training today, or are you going to avoid the the sloppy wet day that we have ahead.
There's a huge advantage to doing weather when you're also a training triathlete. I got my long ride in Monday or Tuesday was it, and then I did my long run yesterday. So I got beautiful weather both days. Today's a swim day. See what I'm doing there? Yeah.
There you go. Smart. Congratulations, by the way, on winning whatever that was the other day.
Duathlon.
What was that?
A little short duathlon.
Duathlon.
Spring Classic duathlon.
Oh, come on.
It's a small local race, but yeah, about 200 people do it. It's out at Vancouver Lake Park. Great event run by Y Racing Events. Super fun, and we got great weather for it. So it was fun to rip the race Band-Aid off and get that first multi-sport done out of the way.
How long did you run, and how long did you?
It's a 5K run, and then it's like a 12 to 13 mile bike, and then another 5K run.
That's impressive, especially considering you're 17 weeks pregnant now.
Four-ish months. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Camila. We're always so proud of you.
That's sweet.
So,
I've been very lucky to feel so good, so I'm going to keep taking advantage of it.
And off camera this morning on Good Day Oregon, people were talking about you,
Stop.
saying that.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I think Kim, Joe, it was something that came up this morning.
Much.
So,
you guys are too much.
You're
Stop it right now. I'm just surviving over here.
Yeah. You just need to wake up at 2 a.m. and come on in and hang out with us.
Thank you, but pass.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks to everybody, of course, for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. We'll be back next week. It's to be determined who is going to be on the podcast.
It's always a mystery.
It's like musical chairs. Yeah. But settle in. It's going to be kind of a wet and unsettled pattern, and hopefully things will change a little bit as we head into the month of May. We'll talk to you soon.
So stop your waiting and hesitating and tell us, please tell us about